the top left, we have our Protoss player for Team LGIM. This is
LGIM first.
First won the first tournament that we had in Heart of the Swarm, the first big offline tournament. It was IM in Katowice. And he went 19-2 in this tournament, which was so impressive. He's up against a very, very strong player at the bottom right, the former GSL champion. Starting for Team MVP, we have
MVP Sniper.
This guy is someone who was one of the top Zergs when we had a kind of arguably period of Zerg dominance towards the end of Wings of Liberty, but he's not as known in Heart of the Swarm just yet.
This is actually the second time that we have a Protoss versus Zerg starting matchup in the GSTL this season. The only other game where this happened was in the first week, where we had, I think it was FXO that played back then. Actually played, yeah, it was Team FXO versus Incredible Miracle. Back in the day we had Rune up versus Lucky. The Zerg player was able to win the encounter. Maybe a sign for Sniper.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, in every other game we only had, well, we had Terran player, at least one Terran player starting.
By the way, shoutouts to Australian fans in the crowd. Thank you for coming. And it looks like we're going to have a Nexus first here. No Forge in the main, nothing out of the ordinary here from first. He's just going to go ahead and drop that Nexus down now.
Yep. Nexus here for the Protoss player. And on the other hand, we have for Sniper pool, as you would expect early on. If you want to play it safe, you're not taking risks, then you always start with the pool before the hatch. A few players trying a little bit more to go into this hatch first start against Protoss these days, though.
Yeah, we've seen it a few times. We've seen it punished as well, almost equally as often.
You always take a risk. You have to be very, very careful when you start with the hatch first. Have a few drones patrolling and Overlord in position. But on the other hand, you always want to send out the second Overlord as fast as possible to get good positions at the main base and the natural of your opponent, which is exactly what we see Sniper doing here.
Yep. Both of these players actually, in their televised matches, are a little bit weak in the matchup, as you can see.
This is actually one of those maps where you can play both styles that are very popular against Protoss. You can either go into a Hydra composition and try to add a few Vipers later on, or you can also just start with the Queen Ultralisk that we've already seen on this particular map, where Squirtle was playing. This was one of the games where he faced, I think, JKS. I'm not 100... Yeah, it was actually against JKS. And Squirtle himself said later on that it was a little bit tricky for him going into Void Race because he didn't expect the Queens to do this well against them. So that's one of the counters that Zerg has these days if the Protoss actually goes for a lot of air units.
I did actually misspeak earlier looking at those stats. I misread them and I was like, wait a minute, what? It's First has had the trouble in this matchup, 1 and 3, whereas Sniper on the other hand has destroyed a lot of Processes. I was like, wait, what? They're both pretty good players. Yeah, only First playing a few televised matches in the GSL. Of course, overseas, you said 19 and 2 at IEM, a very different story.
You know, the thing about First also is that he was recently successful in the Code A qualifier. He was able to win his bracket, so now he's one of the players that we will see in the Challenger League. The same is true for his opponent.
Yeah.
And First had to defeat quite a few opponents. He had to take out Size, for example, a Zerg player that was earlier able to defeat Lucy. And then in the finals, he won a Protoss versus Protoss where he took down Bonk. On the other hand, we have Sniper already in Code A, and Sniper is actually facing a player in the same matchup in his first game in the Challenger League. He's up against Trap.
Yeah, very true. And he's probably been preparing quite a bit for that, so this kind of overlaps for him. That makes him feel pretty comfortable going to this. We do have a +1 go down for First. He has seen the third base of his opponent. He knows it's a pretty quick third.
Chrono boosting also his gateway here. We have him now with a +1 attack just started a few seconds ago before any kind of tech choice. The one Stalker will be out quite soon, and this will help him to shut down the Overlord scouting.
Yeah, and it looks like he wants to pressure actually with a second Stalker, even skipping the Sentry. And then he's going to move out across the map and try to maybe snipe the Queen with his first few units. He doesn't have to do that.
Overlord already heading into the main base, another pylon is being dropped, sees the Overlord right away. And of course, First knows that there's another Overlord position to the right side of his base, so he will know where to hide his tech if he wants to go for it. But he just wants to play this with a little bit of early game aggression with the Mothership Core.
Yeah. Something else to note is that we have the Overlord that's already spotted the gas. So he knows that it's a 4 gas. So he's looking around everywhere, wants to be able to see what's going on.
Yeah, at this point he really has to be a little bit careful. This early aggression with the Mothership Core is just so strong, since you have the recall now to always back off when you realize that you can't do a lot of damage and might lose your units. But at this point, we don't even have a lot of upgrades for our Zerg player here. He didn't start speed, he's still only relying on a few Zerglings, but he has to be careful because +1 is about to finish, and then the Zealots will give him quite a lot of trouble.
Yeah, very true, and he's also got the Mothership Core here, so he really wants to assassinate this Queen. There's a lot of Lings he's targeting here, and I think he will get the Queen no matter what. There's not enough anti-air, there's no second Queen, and the Mothership Core can easily just snipe it down, and the Stalkers can get away before speed is done. Of course, speed's not even started at this point.
Ah, but that was really well done. Did you see that was awesome? Sniper already realizing that he would lose his Queen, starts another one, saves it so that he can use another inject, so he will lose nearly no production. It's of course annoying to him to lose this 150 minerals early on in the game, but production-wise, he's going to be completely fine here.
Yeah, and I mean, when you consider the Zealot was lost, it's actually not too bad of a trade for him overall. Meanwhile, we have +1 armor now on the way. And with the gates going down here at the robotics, he's just going to be playing a safer game. He's getting the Observer out.
Yep, gets the Observer out already, and we have additional gateways following it up to be completely safe here. But let's have a quick look at what Sniper is currently doing. He's heading into the Roach Warren, pretty standard timing to get the Roaches out, and from the start he's dedicating his resources towards the upgrades for range. So we will most likely also see him with the Hydra Den here. That's something that he can definitely utilize, and maybe even go into a fast Hive Tech. He has a lot of options here, trying to get, for example, Vipers out super fast. We won't see the Queen Ultralisk style that we saw from players like Lucky in the past.
Yeah. And when he sees this third base, he's already seen it, he could make a tough choice, which is to make the Hydra stand and be aggressive, or to get that faster Hive, because he knows that the Pross, first in this case, will be very passive. Oh, he almost gets the Observer. Will he get it? One more shot would do it. Boom.
Observer down, and this is also very important. Lair is done now, so with the Lair already done, he can now immediately start to go into this next tech, and oh, this is going to be an interesting one, Wolf. We have a Spire up against double Stargate.
Yeah, and this is most likely going to be for Phoenixes as soon as he scouts this, but he could be planning Void Rays before that. It's just all about what he scouts, and he lost his Observer. Meanwhile, he's not force fielding here, very late on those force fields.
Yeah, but safe enough. The Ling's heading over to the third base, which is still protected by one of the cannons. You know, I'm a little bit curious what exactly Sniper is going to do with the Spire, because these days you don't really go Corruptor anymore if you don't have to. You always try to rely on Vipers. So if he really wants to go for Mutalisks, then dedicating this much gas especially into the +1/+1 upgrades is a bit of a questionable choice. And now he's going full Roach, so this looks more like he wants to go for Roach Corruptor, which is very old school, but not really what you want to go for in Heart of the Swarm.
Look at this perfect micro, by the way, that he's using on these probes. He traps them. He doesn't micro those Lings, though. He could have actually targeted those probes down. Meanwhile, he runs his Lings by. He wants to find a gap. Unfortunately, the Zealot, though, is blocking. He's just trying to get anything he can here. Meanwhile, Fleet Beacon goes down for first.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting because, you know, the way that this is being played, it could actually well work out with the choice to go into Spire. Usually it's very, very rare to see that in Heart of the Swarm. But as you could already see, the second Observer goes in and he sees the Spire. So now this will affect the choice that first will... Well, the path that first is going to go down with those double Stargates.
Yeah, look at his Mothership Core positioning here. He's got it so he can use a Time Warp if he wants to. Good force fields on the left side, but the right side is totally exposed.
Yeah, and here come those Roaches, and we only have one Immortal. I'm a little bit surprised that we see Phoenixes instead of Void Rays here, given the choice of units that we have for Sniper. But so far, first is holding, but the force fields are going to run out eventually.
Yeah, they certainly will, and he's going to do a ton of damage to those sentries. They're all exposed here. In fact, he should be able to get all three. They explode simultaneously. The Immortal is in full retreat. He needs to use that cannon on the Nexus.
Roaches are moving in, and more Phoenixes are being built. The Phoenixes alone won't help him against those Roaches. He needs a bunch of Void Rays here.
Yeah, this is a little bit of an odd choice to continue making Phoenixes after scouting the Roaches. Now he goes to the Voids.
Now he goes into the Void Rays, but only after he built 5 Phoenixes. And they can, of course, now hunt down a few Overlords. But he needs something to defend here, and it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, I think this may actually end the game. He's doing so much damage here, and that wall's not lasting much longer here.
Yeah, only now 2 sentries, so he can use the force fields. But as you said, the wall is already gone. He waited a long time to cast those force fields. A smart choice in this situation. But he is losing so much time, and he needs the Void Rays out.
Yeah, the core is gone too, so no more sentries here. And I think this is just going to be too much. The Roaches break through. He's got a bunch of Phoenixes that he's not even using. The Void Rays finally coming up. It's too little too late. GG.
MVP Sniper.